This is Avram Friedman reporting for the Canary Coalition on a demonstration around the handling of coal ash in North Carolina that took place outside Duke Energy's headquarters in Charlotte on Tuesday, February 25th of 2014. The purpose of this report is to give the public a more comprehensive view of this news event and the sound bites and snippets provided by the corporate news media. This issue goes beyond the one catastrophic coal ash spill at Duke Energy's Dan River plant. There are 14 utility-owned coal-burning power plants in North Carolina and hundreds of similar sites around the nation, each located next to a major waterway to provide the cooling capacity for these outdated technology facilities. Every one of these ash ponds and piles represents a health and environmental catastrophe waiting to happen.
We will stand, we will holler, people over corporate dollars.
We will stand, we will holler, people over corporate dollars. We will stand, we will holler. We will holler, people over corporate dollars. We will holler, people over corporate dollars. We will stand, we will holler, people over corporate dollars. I don't have
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Be here today.
My name is Kara. I work for Appalachian Voices, and I'm honored to stand with you here today in defense of clean water. We thank you for coming. We have several sponsoring and hosting organizations I'd like to thank up front. Charlotte Environmental Action for making the beautiful t-shirts, the banners, the signs. I'd like to thank National Sierra Club, Greenpeace, Appalachian Voices, Keeper of the Mountains, Action NC, Democracy NC, and We Love Mountain Island Lake. Thank you so much for your support. And we're all here today to deliver 9,000 petitions So thank you to all the North Carolinians and people that stand in solidarity for clean water and to clean up coal ash. These are 9,000 petitions demanding that Duke Energy clean up the ash that is spilled into the Dan River and restore it to a healthy state. These are 9,000 petitions demanding that Duke Energy clean up all of its coal ash ponds, all 14 coal plants in North Carolina, in a responsible manner by removing the ash, putting it in lined landfills away from our rivers and away from our lakes and our drinking water sources.
Right on!
And our last demand is that Duke pays for its own mess and does not pass it on to the ratepayers and the public of North Carolina. Thank you for coming today. We're going to open with a peace and blessing from Reverend Nancy Allison with the with the Holy Covenant Church. Thank you.
So every day that is lived with intentionality is a sacred day. So I want to welcome you to this sacred day and this sacred place. and I want us to help mark the intentionality of it. And I want to invite you to take a moment, and if you're a trusting soul, you can close your eyes for and breathe in life and breathe out change. Breathe in life, breathe out change, because we are here to change the world. We are here to make our bodies, the air we breathe, the water that we drink, safe and pure and good. We are here to give voice to the rivers and the clouds who have no voice. We are here to work for change. So thank you for living with intentionality. Thank you for being people of faith who know that together we can make a difference. Go now and make a difference everywhere.
Next, we'll have Amy Adams with Appalachian Voices. I have the pleasure of working with her. She shows great fortitude and courage. She has left the Department of Environment and Natural Resources to join the public fight for clean water, and we thank her for that.
On February 2nd, by either ignorance or negligence, Duke released thousands of tons of toxic coal ash into the Dan River, turning miles of the river into a dark and ashy soup. I saw the negligence, the consequences of this negligence firsthand as I went down on the shores of the Dan and was in shock at the chocolatey, syrupy mess that was the Dan River. The ash is almost 5 feet deep in some locations. It covers the bottom and the shores and lines the shores of the river and smothers everything in its path. There's no doubt that it's killing off the ecosystem. This toxic release spans 80 miles of the Dan River and has put human health and the environment in danger. Duke Energy has defiled the Dan River, and there's no apology that will change that. It took 8 days for Duke to stop the leak, and that was only by sheer dumb luck.
That's right, that's right.
The platform that they built to fix the pipe collapsed into the pipe, effectively plugging it.
Only in America.
Now we know a second pipe is leaking.
Yeah.
At 14 times the standard for human health for arsenic. We also know that there is a third seep location that has been discharging into the Dan River. And we have documented groundwater contamination at all 14 Duke plants across the state. We will not accept toxic discharges into our drinking water sources.
That's right, that's right.
Duke, we demand that you stop poisoning our waters.
Yes.
Stop poisoning our community.
Yes.
The Dan River spill was preventable. That is the heartbreak that we have. It is Duke's greed, putting corporate profits over human health.
That's right, that's right.
So we are here to say no more.
No more.
No more coal ash in unlined ponds.
No more coal ash in unlined ponds.
No more leaks and seeps into our drinking waters.
No more leaks and seeps into our drinking water.
No more stalling.
No more stalling.
No more excuses.
No more excuses.
No more hiding behind political allies.
No more hiding behind political allies.
We are here to draw the line, Duke.
We are here to draw the line, Duke.
The Dan River will forever bear the toxic scars of Duke's negligence. Her beauty and her ecology are forever tainted by the coal ash. We say no more, Duke.
No more, Duke.
Clean up your ash.
Clean up your ash.
Thank you.
Next up is Sarah Banky, founder and leader of We Love Mountain Island Lake. She is an example of community leadership at its finest. And we know that there are other communities across North Carolina bearing this burden of toxic coal ash in their drinking water and their public waterways. So we invite Sarah to represent so many communities that have to fight for their water.
Thank you. I'm Sarah Benke. I live on Mountain Island Lake, right near this coal plant Riverbend, and it's 2 high-hazard, unlined, unregulated, outdated coal ash ponds. These coal ash ponds span about 71 acres, and they hold 3.2 million cubic yards of coal ash. That's about 3 times as much as what was in the Dan River ponds that spilled into Dan River. These ponds are also only 3 miles from Charlotte's drinking water intake. Unlike Dan River that was 20 miles upriver, ours here in Charlotte are only 3 miles upriver. And unlike Dan River, which serves 50,000 people for drinking water, Mountain Island Lake serves 860,000 people with drinking water. And not only is it just coal ash in these ponds, but did you know that Duke Energy has permits to put other toxic waste in these ponds along with the ash, including lab waste, boiler slag, cleaning solvents? We have no idea what's truly in these ponds.
That's right.
And it's not just the threat of a spill, it's the threat and what's happening every day, which is that these ponds drain right into the lake. I've walked up to it myself and seen it myself. It gushes out of the lake every single day. My daughter did her 6th grade science project on it, and she found arsenic levels elevated 10 times higher than the EPA standard for drinking water. Somehow Duke Energy is the only people testing this water that don't find contaminants in it. It's the funniest thing. Even a 6th grader can find it, but they can't seem to find it.
Unacceptable.
There is one solution, and that is for Duke to move their ash. And I'm here today because I formed We Love Mountain Island Lake because I am a mom, I am a cancer survivor, I am concerned about my health, my family's health, my community's health, the health of our state, and I am tired of this just being framed as an environmental issue. This is an economic issue too.
That's right.
Look at what happened in West Virginia. You think those small business owners would have appreciated somebody regulating their clean water so they didn't have to shut down the airport and cancel flights and lose money when they're trying to feed their families? This is not just an environmental issue. Call me crazy, but I'd like to have clean drinking water.
That's right.
So the only option, and Duke Energy needs to know that we have done our homework. We know what needs to be done. Capping these ponds is a cost-cutting solution that is not a solution. The only solution is to move the ash off of our waterways.
That's right.
If that Dan River ash pond had a cap on it, what would that have done to stop that spill? Nothing. Nothing. The only solution is to move the ash off the lake, off the rivers, and stop dumping on the people of North Carolina. You're a monopoly. You're allowed to have that. You're allowed to be the only electrical utility in this state or in this area. So the least you can do is not contaminate our drinking water.
That's right. You got to drink it too.
The only solution is to move the ash, and we will not accept anything else from Duke Energy, a company that just reported almost $3 billion in profits. Certainly should be able to do the right thing by the people of North Carolina, and North Carolina DENR better wake up and realize that they represent us.
That's right.
They are funded by us, and they represent the people of North Carolina, not Duke Energy.
That's right.
Thank you, Zach. Next we have Elise Keaton from Keeper of the Mountains. She's from West Virginia. She's fighting for their clean water as well. As you may know, on January 9th, there was a massive chemical spill into the Elk River, leaving 300,000 West Virginians without clean drinking water. And they still, to this day, do not have clean drinking water. If you've not heard of this, please look up the news, put forth efforts to help them as well. Please.
Thank you. My name is Elise Keaton. I'm the Executive Director of the Keeper of the Mountains Foundation. We're based in Charleston, West Virginia. We're also partners with the CARE campaign, which is the Citizens Action for Real Enforcement. Last summer, we asked the Federal Department of Interior to take over the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection because they are failing to protect the citizens and the environment in West Virginia. Well, then we found out on January 9th that a chemical used to prepare coal for burning in a coal-fired power plant leaked and spilled at least 10,000 gallons into the Elk River and contaminated the drinking water for 300,000 households. The question we have to ask is, why are 300,000 households in a rural state like West Virginia over 9 counties on one municipal water source?
That's right. That's right.
The answer is because their local water sources have already been contaminated by the coal industry. Their springs and their streams have been covered up by valley fills. Their wells have been damaged by blasts from mountaintop removal and slurry injections. And all of these things took place long before the chemical spill happened. So our government's response to that pollution was to build a municipal source into the counties, not address the pollution sources. So now our municipal source has been polluted. And it became very clear immediately after the chemical spill that our leaders were more interested in protecting the reputation of the coal industry in our state than actually providing clean drinking water for the people in our most vulnerable communities in our mountains. It's clear here in North Carolina you guys are facing a similar situation. So we stand with you today in solidarity. We demand accountability from the businesses that are allowed to pollute. We demand accountability for the government agencies that are supposed to protect citizens and the environment. And we stand in solidarity with you today to deliver these petitions and hold Duke responsible for their actions. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Elise. Luis Rodriguez is a community organizer with Action NC, and Cora Little is a member of Action NC. We welcome them to the front to talk about who is going to pay for this mess and who's going to pay to clean up all of the coal ash toxins across North Carolina.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Luis Rodriguez. She said I'm with Action NC. This is Cora Little. She's one of our senior members, and we're here to talk about the economic impact of this spill and Duke's plan to charge ratepayers to clean up their own mess. We think that that is egregious. We think that that's absolutely wrong. Cora is not only a grandmother, she's a great-grandmother. She lives in Hoskins Mills. She is on a fixed income, like many seniors in our communities, like many people who are underemployed or unemployed in our communities. She has only so much money that she can spend throughout the month. And for Duke to come in and say, we made this horrible mess, but we want you to pay for it, is absolutely wrong. Can I get an amen? Yeah. Right. Amen. All right, so Cora is here. The members of Action NC, we stand in solidarity with the people of West Virginia. We stand in solidarity with all the environmental groups. We have many members who are Latino. The Latino community also stands in deep solidarity with all those, because we are all affected when Duke says they're not going to clean up their own mess, that we have to pay for it.
That's right!
So we have one message, and that message is very clear. Duke, clean up your own mess.
Yes.
Right? Duke, clean up your own mess. Duke, clean up your own mess. Duke, clean up your own mess. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Can you pull that down that way a little more? We'll pull the sign down. Yeah, it's good.
Thank you, Luis and Cora. Our final speaker is Mary Ann Hitt. She's the director for the Beyond Coal campaign with National Sierra Club. Mary Ann has been around in this fight for decades, and we thank her for her hard work and leadership. Mary Ann?
All right.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I have the great privilege of going in just a couple of moments with Amy and Cora, and we are going to deliver 9,000 petition signatures from Duke customers calling on Duke Energy to clean up all its coal ash sites all across. And so I words before I go in. I come to you from West Virginia, where I live, where, as you just heard, we are still reeling from a coal pollution, a coal chemical spill right upstream from our capital of Charleston. And as you've heard, the chemical is still showing up in people's water. People are still not drinking the water, and local businesses have really taken a hit as a result. It has been a wake-up call for the state of West Virginia about the consequences of allowing big utilities like Duke Energy, and allowing the coal industry to call the shots for far too long, to create a political climate that is hostile to any kind of enforcement of our existing environmental protections, much less strengthening them as much as they need to be strengthened. So in West Virginia, we've had a wake-up call, but that's not the first wake-up call in this country around coal and water pollution. In 2008, in Kingston, Tennessee, my home state, 1 billion gallons of coal ash burst forth from a TVA power plant, devastating streams and rivers and communities nearby. In the wake of that spill, the Environmental Protection Agency said, we are finally going to put federal standards in place that govern how coal ash should be disposed of. Because believe it or not, there are no federal, national standards in place for how coal ash should be disposed of. So it's left up to the states. And we see how well that's working, don't we? Not working. So in the wake of the TVA spill, EPA drafted these standards. They took public comment. They had 8 or 9 public hearings. And the standards have never been finalized because of opposition from big utilities like Duke and from the coal industry. So here we are with another coal ash spill on our hands at the Dan River site. 80 miles, as you've heard, is buried under coal ash of this river. It's a river people depend on for their drinking water. Local communities depend on it for their economic vitality. And if EPA would have finalized strong coal ash safeguards, this spill could have been prevented. If the state of North Carolina would have done its job, inspected these sites, and ordered the coal ash to be moved, this spill could have been prevented. So we are here today to say enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. This needs to be our last wake-up call, our last coal ash spill. Because I will tell you that it's going to take Duke Energy and the state of North Carolina and the EPA all doing their part. We need Duke Energy to be responsible and clean up all of its coal ash sites, including the Dan River spill. We need the state of North Carolina and every other state where these coal ash sites are located to do its job, enforce our environmental protections, and safeguard the health of regular Americans like you and me. And we need the EPA to lead, to finalize these coal ash safeguards that are long overdue. So Duke Energy, North Carolina, EPA, we need you to clean up toxic coal ash and safeguard our families. And that is why we are here today. Right. So I want to just say a parting word about rivers. I live in West Virginia. My family, my community gets our drinking water from the Potomac River. So we depend on the river for our health, for our life. Here in Charlotte, as you've heard, you're depending on a drinking water supply that is right downstream from a giant coal ash site. Very similar and perhaps even more precarious than the one at Dan River. So we all depend on these rivers for our drinking water, for our health, for our life. But I also just want to say that I love rivers. I got married on the banks of a river that comes right out of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, which is where I grew up. And instead of walking me down the aisle, my dad paddled me down the river around the bend. And then when my husband and I got married, we got back in the canoe and we paddled around the bend to celebrate our new life together. Rivers are places where I now take my 3-year-old daughter to connect with nature, to connect with me, to relax, to rejuvenate. And our rivers have taken a beating lately, courtesy of the coal industry. And enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Charleston, West Virginia, to Kingston, Tennessee, to Eden, North Carolina, which sounds like the very last place on earth you should be dumping toxic coal ash.
Yeah.
Who's going to be next?
That's right.
It's not a matter of whether there's going to be another coal ash spill. It's a matter of when and where, unless something changes, and that's why we are here today, to call on Duke Energy to clean up all of its coal ash, to call on the state of North Carolina to do its job, protect the health of its citizens, and to call on the EPA to finally put these long overdue national safeguards in place. So EPA, North Carolina, Duke Energy, clean up this toxic coal ash and keep our families safe. So Amy and Cora and I are now going to go deliver. You all want to join me? Okay. You ready to go? We're now going to go deliver these 9,000 petitions signed by Duke customers calling on them to clean up all of their coal ash sites. And we do that on behalf of all of you, on behalf of every person living around one of these sites in the country that are really ticking time bombs waiting to disrupt somebody else's clean water and someone else's health and safety. And we thank you for your presence here today. Hopefully it will be a call to action that will finally get Duke to clean up all of the toxic coal ash pollution that threatens our homes and our communities and our families.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear.
Thank you, Duke, for accepting.
Yes, and we do appreciate Duke accepting these petitions in the front door, which is where we're going to go deliver them now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Security guard's a nice guy. Yes.
Where do we go from here?
We will stand, we will fight. Water is a human right.
We will stand, we will fight. Water is a human right. We will stand, we will fight. Water is a human right. We will stand, we will fight. Water is a human right. We will stand, we will fight. Water is a human right. We will stand, we will fight. Water is a human right.
Dan River.
Waters used to be so clean, home to bird and fish and wildlife. Waters sweet and dear. Then the coal plant stole your shorelines and filled you with coal ash. What they've done to your water turned you into dirty trash. Duke said clean coal, we said no coal. We tried to tell them not to spill, but they ruined our drinking water. Now they socked us with a bill. Coal ash spilling, people crying. We will not forget our goal. We will stop this dirty business, bring an end to dirty coal. Oh, Dan River, your waters used to be so clear. Home to bird and fish and wildlife. We will